the thought goes through your head, do you want to really go through that? Do you want to live like that? Is it better just to let it kill you? I mean, all sorts of crazy things go through your mind.
Going vegan helped him cure his painful, swollen joints, lose 75 pounds, and even stop his cancer dead in its tracks. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by inspirational plant-based personal trainer, Mitch Kahn.
Mitch, your story is hugely inspiring and I'm very excited to bring it to my audience. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Paul. Thanks for inviting me.
Fantastic. Now, how long have you been coaching fitness and what inspired this career choice?
Well, it's actually a retirement career for me. I've been a trainer for about 12 years, and I really initially got my trainer certification as a way to just learn how to train myself because I was overweight, unhealthy, out of shape, and wanted to learn as much as I could. And then when people started seeing the results that I was attaining for myself, I started getting people asking me to train them too. And one thing led to another. And I ended up sort of transitioning as I retired out of the business world, started training people.
It's quite unusual for a gym-orientated person to be vegan. When and why did you become whole foods plant-based?
I transitioned about 6 years ago, and before that I had been pescatarian for a couple of years, so that probably made it a little bit easier. But one of the main drivers that got me to go 100% whole food plant-based, and I also don't use any oil either, was I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I ended up talking to a friend of my brother's who had it as well. And he had gone through, if you're familiar with Dr. McDougall, he had gone through Dr. McDougall's program and had met with him. And he actually pretty much gotten rid of his prostate cancer completely. I talked with him and he said, you gotta read everything you can about a plant-based diet. And I did. And literally almost overnight, my wife and I transitioned.
Nice. And were you doing other more traditional, any sort of cancer treatments as well as the nutrition?
No. Well, exercise and nutrition. I haven't had any medical intervention at all. So no surgery, no.
Wow. And did your friend, or was he similar?
Yeah, same thing. Nothing.
So no chemo, no nothing like that. That's really
nothing at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been able to keep it under control. I get my PSA monitored every 3 months to 6 months, and I have a biopsy every couple of years. But the last biopsy I had, actually, my Gleason score, which is the way they grade prostate cancer, actually decreased. So I've kept it at bay, and hopefully we'll continue that way.
For sure. I imagine when you first got your diagnosis, I mean, that must be extremely scary to most people. Did it cause you a lot of anxiety at the time?
Yeah.
Is that an understatement?
Yeah, it is. Because you always think the worst, especially with some of the things you hear about the surgery for taking out your prostate and some of the effects it has after that. The thought goes through your head, do you want to really go through that? Do you want to live like that? Is it better just to let it kill you? I mean, all sorts of crazy things go through your mind.
I imagine you must have had a lot of sleepless nights, no?
Yeah, a little bit. But then luckily my PSA, which is prostate-specific antigen, which they measure through a blood test, it was going up, but it's never gone up that high. I've actually talked to guys who have had PSAs that are in several hundreds and even higher, and they've gone through the surgeries and everything. Mine's always been, I've been able to keep mine in the range of between 7 and 10. It sort of bounces around, but that's a good thing too, that it hasn't jumped up at all.
Yeah. Good to hear.
And again, I attribute that all to whole food, plant-based eating and staying active, exercising.
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm not quite understanding. So are you like cancer-free now, technically, or what is the deal with that?
No, I don't know if you're ever considered cancer-free.
I see.
So it's still in my body, but it's actually with the Gleason score, when they do a biopsy, they go in and they check certain cells in your prostate that they target through a MRI beforehand.
Right.
And the last time I had it went down.
Right.
The score went down.
Certainly like no progression and perhaps like some kind of regression almost. Is that correct?
Yeah, it did. It actually did regress. Yeah.
Right.
And,
right. So basically the doctors are not concerned. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Just,
yeah. What a powerful tool. What we eat and just not being lazy. How amazing.
Exactly. And that's what my urologist says too. He attributes it all to the way I eat and the way I stay active and take care of myself. And
that's fantastic. That's inspirational. So how soon did you, I guess you were having scans and things, did you get a benefit sort of fairly soon on, or would you know, like how did that sort of go?
It pretty much has stayed fairly stable. So there has never been any huge spike in my PSA. And the biopsies have all been, fairly, the Gleason score has been fairly stable as well. So,
good to hear.
Yeah, the progression hopefully stays, in terms of either decreases or at least stabilizes. And if that's the case, then I can be on what they call active surveillance for
yes, that's right. I've heard of Dr. Gregor talking about that. Because isn't Ornish, like he claims to have actually reversed prostate cancer, is that right? Have you heard of studies?
Yeah. And so he basically, was whole food, plant-based diet, exercise. He includes like a meditation / stress reduction. I'm a very laid back person, so
nice.
I've never let stress get to me.
Yeah. Good for you. And, that's a killer, isn't it? And does he talk about sort of community as well and sort of having support kind of thing? Right?
Yeah. And
to be honest, in recent months, I've really got into some of the self-care things of meditation and cold therapy and breath work. And I've realized the value of community, with this lockdown and not being able to see people and stuff. I imagine there's a lot more suicide and things. It's quite terrible. We need connection. It's important for our well-being, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what's been going on in the world because, I agree. The connection is, to me, the interaction, and that's why I loved being an in-person trainer too, and being able to interact with people, throughout the course of the day.
It's a beautiful thing. I think one of the worst things is with prisoners, with the solitary confinement. I think that is so cruel. I would rather not exist than be stuck somewhere on my own. I think that's. I know these people have likely done bad things, but I don't know if we need to be quite so cruel. But anyway, that's a different topic. Were there other noticeable difference to the way you felt with your new nutrition in terms of like general health or sports performance?
Yeah, actually both. So in terms of health, the other issue that I've dealt with because of years of mistreating my body with the way I ate, sort of standard Western diet and junk food and not taking care of myself, is I had gone for a physical and the doctor had suggested that I go for what's called a coronary artery calcium scan, which basically measures the amount of plaque in your coronary arteries. Ideally, you want to score 0. Well, I went for mine and my score was like over 1,400. So luckily where I'm at in Nashville, Tennessee, there's actually a plant-based cardiologist and I go to him. We had long conversations about plant-based nutrition and how it can help heart disease. So I'll always be at risk, but I've gone through a couple of different stress tests and actually have passed them with flying colors. They say my performance on the treadmill matches people who are in their late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, wow. Do you mind me asking how old you are now, Mitch?
I'm 67.
Wow. 20s and 30s. That's fantastic.
Yeah, they said that the only people who maybe outlast me on the treadmill are marathon runners. So
wow.
I've been able to keep that in check.
Good.
And again, attribute it to exercise and my plant-based diet.
So powerful.
And then I compete in the Senior Olympics.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, I compete in track and field events. So I do sprints, I do shot put, and I do the discus.
Wow.
And I just enjoy athletics and sports. So
yeah. Very good. That's really inspirational. Did you run? I mean, obviously you did the cancer-related test. Did you run any other health tests before and after your diet switch?
Before my diet switch, I had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, and I was pre-diabetic.
Okay.
And I don't have any of those issues anymore. My cholesterol is fine. My triglycerides are fine. My blood pressure is fine. And I'm not even close to being pre-diabetic anymore. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
You got none of those COVID, those comorbidities we hear about where people are getting really sick because they've got the standard diseases that we in the West typically suffer from.
Yeah, no. And I've had both my COVID vaccines. And it's interesting because I was expecting to have a reaction, and both my wife and I, and because she's in good shape too, neither one of us had any reaction at all. And I was talking to my older son, who has a friend who works for one of the pharma companies that produced the vaccine. And he had told my son that if you have no reaction, it's because your immune system is really strong.
Wow. Very good.
So, I like to think that at least.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope so. We're doing all the right things. You would hope to get some good
Exactly.
So how difficult did you find it becoming like fully whole foods plant-based?
Not as hard as you would think, because my wife and I literally did it overnight. We basically went through our refrigerator and our pantry and boxed up everything that we had eaten before and donated it, and then stocked up on plant-based foods. You know, we had to start learning how to cook things differently and gathering recipes. So that took a little bit of time, but it was not hard at all. And when you really stop and think about it, if you think about eating a piece of meat, if you ate it and you didn't season it at all, but you just ate the meat plain, cooked but plain, it really wouldn't have much taste. No. It's the seasoning that people really like on the meat, and you can duplicate that on plant-based food.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yes. What is it? Tomatoes. We make tomato sauce, chili sauces. It's the herbs. It's the spices.
Exactly.
None of those are made out of animals. Yeah. Very good point. The people in our lives sometimes can feel quite threatened when we become vegan. What was your experience with friends and family members when you let them know you were making this change?
My younger son and his family are not vegan at all. But when we go over there, my daughter-in-law will make, food for us.
Nice.
My older son, who's 36, he went about a year ago for a physical and was diagnosed with high cholesterol and high blood pressure.
Wow.
So we talked, and I convinced him to try going vegan, which he and his wife did. And, again, he reversed both. So he no longer has high blood pressure or high cholesterol.
Yes.
So it definitely makes a difference. Now, where we live in in the southern part of the U.S., it's not what I would call vegan friendly because there's, fried food and meat is a staple down here. So it's getting better, but it still has a long way to go. And literally in the gym where I was working full time before COVID, I convinced a few people to go vegan, but it was a tough road to hoe.
An uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely.
I did quite well. Because I had a bit of a reputation as sort of a bouncer and, all that silly nonsense, which I've since really turned my back on. But I think people kind of thought, well, if he's doing it and he still looks like that, and there must be something to it. So I think about 5% of the gym went vegan pretty quick. And then we had a reigning Mr. Universe, Barney Duplessis, joined the gym, and we had a chat one day. He was asked, and then he went vegan off the back of it. So now 10% of the gym suddenly was vegan because Mr. Universe had gone vegan. And, we just need a few more examples, don't we? And I think Game Changers movie has been a game changer, hasn't it, in terms of letting people know that we're not skinny wimps and unfit and
exactly. Yeah, and the Game Changer movie was I think did a lot for that. Seeing all the different vegan athletes.
Mitch, did you get a massive boost in people emailing and saying, I've just watched the Game Changers and can you train me? Did you have because half my inquiries were started with
from that
Game Changers?
No, not as much as you would think.
Okay. Yeah. Mine went bonkers. I was very grateful.
I had a lot of people who were trying to debunk a lot of the things that were being said in the movie. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
I bet.
You can choose not to believe it. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So what does your day of eating look like nowadays then?
For the longest time, and I was doing this even before I went plant-based, I would make now the ingredients have changed a little bit, but I would make a smoothie, a protein smoothie in the morning. And I still do that. And it's got probably 20 ingredients in it from kale and white beans and pumpkin to the frozen fruit to amla powder and protein powder. And
amla powder, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I use that. That's the best place to put it because it's so disgusting, isn't it?
It is. You don't taste it all.
Put that in your sweet smoothie. And do you have your flax and chia seeds?
I put 3 tablespoons of flaxseed in there, 2 teaspoons of amla powder.
Oh, wow. You're brave.
I put a teaspoon of turmeric in there.
Yes.
Some ginger, some cinnamon.
Nice.
Yeah.
You put a little black powder to potentiate the curcumin out of the turmeric?
Yeah, actually, that's the one I buy has black pepper already. There. Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Isn't it something like the flax meal has something like 100 times the lignans of other food, and that's really it's really good against prostate cancer, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I do that. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. I've also grown. I used to put this in my smoothies too. I used to grow broccoli sprouts.
Oh wow! So you got the sulforaphane.
Yeah. I got a little lazy and don't do that anymore. But we do eat a lot of broccoli. And then sprinkle some mustard powder on there.
Okay, so you got
bring out the.
So you're making the sulforaphane. Very clever. So that's breakfast. What's lunch looking like?
Lunch varies between a bowl of oatmeal. I'll add maybe some banana or some apple, some date sugar, and some frozen fruit. Or my wife will make a soup, and then occasionally we'll marinate extra firm tofu and make a tofu, lettuce, and tomato sandwich.
Oh, it's TLT.
and those are real good. So that's a typical lunch. And then
just quickly, Mitch, before you move on, so you mentioned date sugar. Now that's actually quite a healthy sweetener, isn't it, relative to other free sugars? Do you want to just explain what that is if people don't know?
Sure. Yeah, date sugar is basically just pulverized dates, and it's the only sweetener that has any nutrients in it at all. And that's the only sweetener we actually use, except occasional maple syrup. But
it's a bit of a pain. It doesn't dissolve because it's got the fiber. It won't dissolve, so you can't use it exactly like sugar. But sometimes to sweeten like other things like desserts and stuff, we might use date syrup where we just whiz up dates with water. So
we've used dates. Yeah, we use date syrup as well. And that's really the best sweetener to use. It's the only one with, like I said, the only one with any nutrients. So,
and you're not getting that blood sugar spike and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
I just read the Scherzai's new book, and they're saying the worst thing for Alzheimer's disease is free sugars, worse than eating animal products, actually. So that's really put me off. I was having a little maple syrup, but I've actually knocked that on the head now. So it's a horrible disease, isn't it? Alzheimer's. I wouldn't like to.
I love the Scherzai's. We got a chance to actually meet them and talk with them a couple of years ago, and they're great people.
They're so warm and loving, aren't they? They're amazing. I love those guys. So that's breakfast and lunch, and then do you have a dinner as well? Yeah,
we have dinner. So we meal prep, and we'll eat the same thing throughout the course of the week. So my wife and I will spend 2-3 hours on a Sunday afternoon prepping dinner for the week.
Right. Brilliant.
And it makes it real easy to go shopping because you know exactly what you have to get for your recipe.
So it's time saving as well.
Yeah. So like this week we made shredded jackfruit with some barbecue sauce, and
I've not actually tried that yet. That sounds really good.
It's really good. And we cut up some potatoes and baked them for like baked fries, and that's dinner for the week. Last week we made chickpea salad and put it over a bed of vegetables and greens.
So you're still going really heavy on the greens and other veggies, are you?
Yeah. We eat a lot of veggies.
Nice. Yeah. I don't blame you. Do you have any sort of favorite meals?
Yeah, I really enjoy my chickpea salad.
Wow.
I like to cook, so my wife and I share the duties, but I like to cook, so I like my chickpea salad.
Do you make any sort of an oil-free dressing for that?
No.
Yeah, just a simple salad, and that's I mix tahini, a little bit of brown mustard, and a touch of maple syrup, and cut up like bell peppers and onion and some pickles. Okay.
And mix it all together. We run the chickpeas through our food processor, so it gets a really nice consistency. Yeah. And then season it with some garlic granules and some black pepper and some celery seed. That's it.
You're making me hungry, Mitch. Stop talking about food. How much time do you put into working out nowadays, and what are your favorite types of exercise?
That's another story. My favorite exercises are the big compound moves. So deadlift, squat, rows,
nice,
bench press, shoulder press. I love working with kettlebells.
They're nice sort of bang for your buck, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, I hurt my back right after COVID hit, and I finally broke down and went to the doctor a few months ago and was diagnosed with a ruptured disc at L2, L3, and also severe stenosis at the same spot. So
easy done, isn't it?
Yeah, it was impacting me to the point that it was hard for me to even walk at times because it was hurting, radiating down my legs. So
is it like a sciatic injury kind of thing?
It's actually worse than that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have a sciatic injury, which I kind of manage, but I'll never be the same again.
No, it's put a crimp in my workouts, that's for sure.
That's a shame.
I'm trying to avoid surgery. So I've had a couple of epidural steroid injections into my spine. I had one about a week and a half ago, and it actually has finally given me some relief. So,
good.
Yeah. So
may it continue.
Yes. So right now, a lot of what I do is just, core exercises to, keep strengthening my core, because that's really important for that.
I think a lot of people have hurt their backs of late, and I wonder whether it's because we're doing a lot more sitting and shortening the hip flexors and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I heard somebody say, and it's so true, I think, you never hear somebody say, I used to have a bad back. It's like once you get a bad back, you seem to always have it.
Yeah, they're a scourge. Do you have other healthy lifestyle habits?
Yeah, well, I cut out alcohol.
That's a biggie.
Yeah, I did that once I went plant-based, to basically cut out all alcohol too. Drink a ton of water. About the only thing I drink is water or green tea. And try and get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Try and walk a lot. And when my body is not fighting me, I still continue to work out.
Fantastic. And how many of your clients eat whole foods plant-based?
My one-on-one clients, they do in person, are all, for the most part, works in progress. They see what it's done for me, and they dabble in it. But none are 100%. My online clients are sort of a combination. Some are trying to transition, and some are plant-based.
Okay, that's
so
nice. And do you have any sort of success stories that sort of stand out among the plant-based ones? Are they getting some health benefits as well?
One in particular stands out. It was a female. She was mid-50s, out of shape, overweight, and got her to go fully plant-based. She had similar results to me. She lost a ton of weight. She got really strong because all of a sudden she realized that she liked working out. Her blood panel work came back as excellent. So she basically turned her life around, doing that. Yeah.
I love a success story. If someone is considering going plant-based but feels overwhelmed, what might you recommend to sort of help them?
To me, it depends on the type of person that they are. So some people will dive in the deep end of a pool without ever learning how to swim first. And others like to just put their toes in the water. So I think you have to decide who you are and then go with that. So if you're a dip your toe in the water type of person, maybe you swap out a meal or two a week, or maybe it's breakfast for the week or whatever, and start to sample and see what you can do. I think a lot of people are skeptical about, will they enjoy the food? Will they be hungry all the time? Things like that. And so sampling it out is a good way to figure it out. And then there's others like my wife and I who, jump straight in and are able to do it. This woman I was just talking about, she jumped straight in too, and literally cleaned out her kitchen as well, and made the switch overnight. So I think it depends. Once you realize that there are plenty of delicious foods that you can eat that are plant-based, and that they're easy to prepare, and they taste great, and then you start to get the benefits in the way you feel. It should be a no-brainer.
Becomes addictive at that point.
Yeah.
Are you taking on any new clients at the moment?
I am. We started yesterday a 30-day plant-based transformation challenge, and these are people who are basically veg curious who want to fully transition. So doing that, that's an online program.
So where do people need to go if they want to get involved in that?
The best place to go would be to DM me on Instagram, Mitch Kahn Fitness.
Mitch Kahn Fitness. I'll put a link down below, folks, if you're watching and you want to hook up with Mitch. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on, Mitch, before we wrap up today?
No, I think if anyone in your audience is really contemplating whether they should, take that step and go plant-based, it's worth their while, especially if they're dealing with health issues or they want to lose a little bit of weight or whatever the case may be, or they're concerned about the state of the planet. Take that next step and just see for yourself what it can do for you.
Well said, Mitch. Fantastic. Mitch, thanks again for taking the time to be with me today. And on behalf of the people, the planet, and the animals, thank you so much for all the good that you're doing in the world.
Oh, I appreciate it, Paul. Thanks for having me on.